Hey, welcome to Catholic in America. Today is going to be a special episode where I interview Father Tom Dillon, one of the regular hosts of Catholic in America, on him being a priest and just a regular dude.
Yep, normal guy. So if you placed your priest up on pedestals, we're about to tear it down.
All right, so welcome to Catholic in America. I'm the executive producer here at St. Dominic Media. My name is Kyle O'Connor, and today we're going to do a special episode of Catholic in America where I interview Father Tom Dillon, and we're going to get to know him a little bit better. So, Father Tom, how's your day going so far?
Good, man. Just got back from a run. I did a little 3-mile run in preparation for this. So it's good. Good day. I taught theology in the classroom today. We covered the Hail Mary and the scriptural basis for the high school. So had mass this morning. So good day so far.
All right. Got your lungs warmed up, your voice ready for this interview.
Indeed.
So we're going to get to know you a little bit better. And I think I've based some of the questions I've written down here off of some of the comments that we've gotten on YouTube. So
Are these the good comments or the bad ones?
well, it's a mixed bag. People want to know what's with the ponytail, man. I mean, doesn't Paul forbid that or write about that? Men should have short hair. Come on.
Yeah, well, I believe that my master and my best friend Jesus also had long hair.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They do say that I believe imitation is the greatest type of flattery. So imitate Christ in all things, right?
Yeah, that's right. But you got a pretty cool style, so it kind of goes with everything going on. You got the cowboy boots, and I think you do jeans instead of the traditional slacks there or something, right?
I do. They're much more comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Much more practical than slacks.
The Johnny Cash of priests, I guess, huh?
That's right. And I drive a Camaro.
Drive a Camaro. Yeah, that's right. And drive fast, too. You like to drive fast, huh?
Always in the speed limit, man. Never fast. Never fast.
Good. Yeah, So what music are you playing? Yeah. What music are you playing as you whip through your neighborhood?
Oh, music that I listen to. I like a lot of kind of contemporary stuff. Imagine Dragons, Mumford and Sons. A lot of popular. I don't know, kind of maybe secular music, but secular music which has more, which I find to have more meaning, especially lyrics. I like that's one of the reasons I like kind of those two bands are at the top of my list. But other stuff, I'm pretty eclectic. But I like stuff that just has meaningful lyrics and meaning that makes me think and ponder. So yeah. Kind of, I have an interesting playlist. I listen to a lot of the things that I think that probably a lot of modern day secular people listen to.
Yeah. And thinking and pondering is something you do quite a bit with your philosophical background. You're always defining terms when we have our Catholic in America episode. And so, what is that philosophical background? What's your approach to that or your vein of philosophy that you're most interested in?
Well, my undergrad was University of Steubenville, so I got my philosophy degree there and theology at the same time, so I've got dual major. So I think that probably my philosophical leaning is more towards metaphysics, as opposed to some of the other in philosophy. At least when I did undergrad in my philosophical training, we kind of broke the philosophy into kind of the 5 major schools, categories of philosophical thought, which was metaphysics, which is the study of being. So both the visible and the invisible world. That'd be kind of my interest lies. Then you have epistemology, which is the study of knowledge. How do you know things? Logic, coherency of argumentation, and the study and seeking for truth, although there's obviously some people who disagree with that in terms of logic. But then you also have anthropology, philosophical anthropology, and ethics and morality. So my philosophical interest lies more towards the metaphysical and the study of being. That was always, even in undergrad, that was my particular interest.
So metaphysics then?
Yep, metaphysics.
Okay. Where does that come from? That's Aristotle, or?
Aristotle did a lot of metaphysics, but especially Plato. So Plato and Aristotle. Plato, who talked about the ideal world, the ideal forms, talked a lot about virtue, and then Aristotle kind of brought Plato kind of out of the clouds and brought him down to earth. And so Aristotle did a lot of stuff on ethics, but also the study of the what Aristotle would call ontology, which is the hierarchy of being. So when you look at, like, for instance, even like the sciences, Aristotle's recognized commonly as the father of the sciences because he categorized things and put them into their categories. So if you look at like the difference between like a rock, a tree, an animal, and a human being, and then ultimately like an angel, like what's the difference between all these things? And so like when you look at those comparisons, that's where you'd have, and even in Aristotle did a lot of stuff with metaphysics as well. And so I would be very Aristotelian in my particular kind of my philosophical training. I do a lot of that with my kids in high school, where I teach them about the four causes and how can you categorize things and understand where we fit in the cosmos, where we fit in the order of creation.
All right, very cool. So I know a little bit about you, and I guess some of these questions come from that. They're not really questions. I'm just going to bring up some stuff. So.
Yep.
You're a chaplain at several places. So let's start with Open Door Women's Clinic. You're pro-life. You're the chaplain there, and tell us some more about that.
So I've been the chaplain since I got to Tallahassee, which was once I was assigned originally at Good Shepherd Parish in Tallahassee, which is on the northeastern side of the city. And so as soon as I got to Good Shepherd, I pretty much I think that they asked me to be the chaplain of the pro-life clinic. And I grew up in a very pro-life family. I have 6 sisters, a brother. So one of 8 kids, and my family was always very, very pro-life growing up. We'd go to, occasionally I remember going to the abortion mills to pray outside of them. And we always were praying for life. And so when I was asked to be the chaplain of Open Door, women's clinic here in town, I was very happy to do so. So I go there usually at least once a month. I go and say mass for them, and then I try to support them with fundraising and with various different activities, just to stand for life and the importance of human dignity, especially for women who are making that choice. So I've been doing that for, I guess, 11 years now.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, so you come from a big family. Remind me again, how many brothers and sisters?
6 sisters and 1 brother. So 2 sisters, then me, then 2 sisters, my brother, and then 2 more sisters. So a nice little. It's almost like it was planned that way. Okay,
yeah. I've met one of your sisters. I've heard you speak of your sisters quite often, though.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
All of them beautiful and big personalities.
Yeah, yeah. And they can hold their own, I guess, is what I.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So that's great.
I am not Father Tom to my sisters. I am still Tommy.
Yeah.
So.
Your family background. Where are you guys from again?
I grew up in Atlanta, so spent actually most of my until 18 was when my mom moved out. My parents were divorced, and I was so throughout my high school years there was a divorce that happened. And then 18th birthday was pretty much the time that we moved down to Florida. But growing up, I grew up in Atlanta. Spent my entire time there. Was homeschooled in Atlanta. Originally, I went to Catholic grade school, and then from kind of 5th grade onward, my mom pulled us out because she wasn't very happy with the kind of the bullying that was going on in the schools. And so she pulled us out, and from 5th grade onward, I was homeschooled. And for the most part, actually, a lot of it was self-taught. My mom got what I called Catholic boot camp for Catholic homeschool kids. I went through Seton homeschooling program. And my mom, at a certain point, she handed me over the books, and she said, "The angels will teach you." And so she gave me all the books. So for the most part, actually, I got dropped off at the library every day from 6th grade onward, and kind of pretty much was me, the angels, and the librarians spent a lot of time as I did all my academics there. Then I started working full time. When I returned, I actually got a job when I was 15. Started working full time at 16. So kind of didn't have the kind of the normal upbringing that most people think of when they think of that. But it was a blessed time in my life, even despite the difficulties and the trials.
Yeah, that sounds like a good lesson anyways, to be self-motivated, self-driven like that, and be able to figure out, what do I need to learn? What do I need to know? How am I going to go about that? So Sounds like it's a useful life skill going forward.
It was, and probably also I would see now in self-reflection and looking back, it probably caused me to become kind of the independent thinker and spirit, and kind of having my own, just because I didn't grow up in the school system. Actually, I've had a close friend of mine said that I probably would not think the way that I do had I grown up kind of in that school system, but kind of being kind of self-taught throughout, especially most of middle school and high school. Definitely kind of probably lent to my independent streak.
Okay. So I don't know if I've ever spoken with you about your relationship with your dad. I know we've spoken about your relationship with your mom, and she has an illness that I guess she's in a care facility now.
Well, no, my stepfather actually is taking care of my mom. My mom has degenerative aphasia. So, which is kind of the opposite of Alzheimer's. Her ability to speak and to communicate has been severely impacted. She actually can't speak coherently at this point, and because it's a degenerative disease, it's also working forward, and so now her memory is starting to be affected. So, yeah, she's not in very good shape right now.
How does that impact you and your faith? I know you're a man of faith, man of God, a priest, and what's that struggle like with you and your siblings, your family?
It's a big struggle. It's kind of having to watch someone that you love dearly, because I love my mom dearly. Actually, probably has been the biggest influence in my life, especially in terms of my faith. So just watching kind of that slow debilitating and is extremely difficult, because you watch someone kind of waste away in front of you, and brings up that, I don't think that anyone wants to watch someone suffer, especially when you're dealing with a long-term degenerative disease, which affects the cognitive ability. And that's, for me, it's hard, because I wouldn't necessarily call myself an academic, but I'm definitely intellectual, and being able to converse and talk, and the exchange of ideas was always something which I was able to do with my mom growing up. We talked about the faith, we talked about ideas, we talked about even philosophical things. Like I said, growing very pro-life family, so questions of ethics and morality were always ways in which we kind of, as a family, we discussed, and that's how we connected. So not being able to connect to my mom in that way is definitely emotionally very heavy. But I also know that the Lord, in terms of my faith strengthens me in that, because I know that eventually my mom's mental illness will be again healed. I don't know about it in this lifetime. I don't actually expect in this lifetime it to happen, but most certainly in the next. And like I said, it is a degenerative disease, and I mean it eventually will lead to my mom's death. I do expect that to happen. I don't know when, but likewise in the next couple of years. So kind of watching that play out in front of your eyes, I mean, definitely is emotionally taxing, as you don't really want to watch your loved one die, or your loved one kind of waste away. So, but I'm kind of say it is what it is, but I know that the Lord is present, and that the Lord, and that definitely it's a heavy thing to watch, because you kind of ask God why. But God came into the world, and ultimately all the sufferings that we endure in this life will eventually pass away. But there still is meaning, and there's value in life to be found, even in difficult moments. So I usually bring my mom out to me and her, we try to go out at least once a week. I go with her and my stepdad, and we meet for lunch and or for breakfast, just to have that connection, even despite the fact that we can't talk. Still, I think the importance of just maintaining that relationship. And I'll tell you this, even with that, I can still kind of, when you're dealing with a person who has lost the ability to talk, you kind of have to read language in different ways, because she still is there. She still is there. So you just have to read body language as well as mood and emotions. I'm sure like with your wife, because you're married, how you kind of walk in the room and you kind of know, you sometimes know what she's thinking or what she's feeling just by the facial expression, the body language. And so, although it's we don't have the ability to talk in that way, I can still she still is able to communicate in some of those ways, and I can definitely tell, because You'll be times where I walk in and I definitely know that body position. I'm angry with you because you haven't come and seen me in a while. So that's why I say there still is it's for me, it's maybe broadened my way of approaching communication, if that makes sense. Whereas that communication is not just verbal, you can also body language and things like that. So there's still that ability to connect. Obviously, I wish that we were able to communicate and talk the way we once did, but I have faith that eventually that will be restored, and one day we will have another, probably a good drag out conversation like we used to.
Yeah. Have you learned any lessons, being pro-life? This is kind of this care for someone who can't take care of themselves. Has that, your experience here bolstered any of those original thoughts or ideas or feelings?
Yeah, I think that in terms of, I guess maybe it's broadened my perspective, another way of looking at it. Because I definitely, I don't have a fear of death. I have no fear of death. I do think that I have maybe a little bit of a concern. I don't think the death doesn't bother me. It's the dying process. So kind of watching that play out with my mom, watching the degenerative nature of her disease, has definitely given me pause, where now I maybe look upon things that I maybe looked at harshly in the past. I look maybe upon even different philosophical perspectives, because that I would have looked at harshly in the past. So like, for instance, even when you look at like the way that people talk about euthanasia, and the way that people talk about or the kind of the arguments for euthanasia, I'm adamantly stand against them still, but I definitely now can appreciate them. I can appreciate why people would choose to do euthanasia. I think it's wrong, and I don't support it, and I would never euthanize my mom. But it definitely, it's kind of where, I don't know, you kind of look and watch people slowly die, and you're just thinking, I wish that I could not hasten this process, but you don't want to watch them. So like struggling with those, with those moral issues, I think has kind of broadened that as I've now watched with my mom. So it's not as clean cut as it was in the past. Whereas I still am very pro-life, and I definitely think it, but I can definitely have, I think, more compassion for people who also struggle with watching people die and watching people slowly waste away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So the empathy that you've experienced in this process with other people who are going through something similar, and then taking your philosophical background, the rubber's hitting the road now, and it's more real. It's not just, lofty thoughts or ideas. And
oh yeah, and that's the thing, is like, especially with that, it's the emotion. It's kind of trying to find the harmony between your thoughts and your ideals, your thoughts, and then like the heart. It's like you have to find that harmony between them, because like my thought says, I don't want my mom to be in suffering, and I don't want my mom to be in pain any longer. Right. But I also know, I know the teachings of the church are, at the same time, finding that harmony is like, I want this person not to be suffering, versus I know that that there is value, there is dignity in all life. But like when you see a person who's wasting away, you're just like, you're confronted with those hard decisions. Like, Lord, where's the value and the dignity in this? Why are you allowing this person to suffer and just kind of waste away? So I think that my experience of this has definitely been, it's definitely put things in perspective. And yeah, I think that it's where you do find the empathy, not just for the person who you're with, but ultimately for other people who are also going through similar things. And that's what I'm saying. It's not as black and white as sometimes the ideals that we hold lofty become much more difficult when you have an actual real person who you're all watching suffer.
And I'm sure you're teaching those things, or it's coming out naturally. So you're the chaplain of the Catholic high school. Is it John Paul II High School in Tallahassee?
Yep.
And so you're the chaplain there as well. And then you have a new parish that you're the pastor of, which is on the campus of the high school, right? Or
yep, we're building it up as we go.
Okay, yeah, tell us more about that.
So yeah, we started when I got assigned out to the high school as the chaplain part-time. I think it was 7 years ago now, I think it was. took over, and for the previous model where we had a principal and a president, but then the school was undergone some difficulties, some restructuring. Were the old model, and so I came on as the chaplain. We got a new principal, and we kind of turned the school around. We had a lot of growth and success, and at the same time, I started doing a mass, which was for the community out in Southwood, which is where the high school is, and really the community that mass started growing exponentially. Actually, what was interesting for that was that during COVID, we decided to move the mass outdoors. And so actually we've been doing mass outdoors since COVID, and especially during COVID, actually, because we were one of the few places in the city that had outdoor mass where people could be either not masked or they could wear masks and they could feel safe because they were not in a confined building. Our numbers actually grew exponentially, and actually it kind of was, even though the COVID difficulty kind of shrank many communities, in terms of my community, it actually probably inadvertently helped spawn our growth. So so we about 2 years ago, the bishop started the process of making what was originally just kind of a community of people gathering. The Bishop Walk decided to go ahead and make it as start on the path towards making us a full-time parish. So I was installed as the pastor this past year, and the community, we were elevated to the status of what's called a quasi-parish, which is the status right before being made a full-blown parish, a permanent community.
Nice. All right. So when you're not teaching or at your parish or being a chaplain, what do you do in your free time?
Well, I'm a video gamer, so I play a lot of video games, or at least when I can. So I'm a big Destiny 2 player, Elden Ring. I like sci-fi fantasy games. So also the sci-fi fantasy games tend to be have more kind of philosophical elements and cultural elements. Video game is one of my main hobbies. I'm a runner, so try to keep the weight off. So I try to run several miles a day. What else to do? I travel. Love traveling, especially abroad. So I was a tour guide for the Vatican back when I was 18 for Centro San Lorenzo, the Vatican Youth Center. And so I occasionally will do pilgrimages and trips, do a lot of different trips, especially to Europe, with kind of a cultural and that's one of my hobbies is kind of cultures and cultural exploration. So do a lot of that. And travel. I'm a big skier. So I love skiing. So usually all of my vacation time usually is after Christmas, and I try to spend a couple weeks if I can, trying to go in various different locations to ski. So that's my plan is to go out to Colorado, hopefully after Christmas this year, and get some skiing in.
Nice. You like the snow?
I love the snow.
Oh man.
Yep. I almost joined the Diocese of Denver. I was very tempted to join the Diocese of Denver, but I figured that joining a diocese because they have great skiing was probably not the most altruistic reason to join a diocese. So now I'm in hot Florida. So now I go on vacation to the mountains.
So let's rewind just a little bit. You're a gamer. Are priests allowed to play video games?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
If it's not in theology, we say if it's not prohibited, it is permitted. So there's no prohibition against it. Therefore, yes, you are allowed to do it.
I'm of course just kidding, but I could hear people, commenting on that, or predicting.
Oh yes, I'm sure there'll be comments.
Another thing that people might be commenting on this next question: what's your vice?
My vice?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no vices, man. Just smoking, drinking, and cussing. But other than that, there's no vices.
Maybe that sounds like a weird thing, but I feel like, or a weird question to ask, but I feel like I went to Franciscan as well, and the seminarians there, I guess, or the pre-the people, and they would talk about that, or maybe I'd hear it from other priests that I've worked with, but like essentially like, oh, you got to have a vice, at least some outlet or something, not necessarily... Maybe not a bad thing all the time, but I guess there's some expectation that it's going to happen. I don't know.
Well, it's all things in moderation, but obviously I'm a cigar smoker. So, and I also, I enjoy the occasional whiskey or bourbon. So as long as you don't do it in too much, and obviously you can do anything too much is the sin of gluttony. But
yeah,
so those would be my what you might call my vices or my bad habits.
Nice. Yeah, I like bourbon as well.
Oh yeah, good bourbon, a good Scotch or a good whiskey is very nice.
Yeah, yeah. So, what's one interesting thing about you? An unexpected interesting thing that you could tell us?
Unexpected interesting thing.
I mean, we've already got skiing, snow, and video games, cigars, bourbon.
I mean,
What
that's
else?
I don't know. That's pretty much it. I kind of I try to be a simple, simple person, simple habits. So
Maybe
not
an
sure.
accomplishment or something in high school or in seminary or Father Kendall was just at my house the other day, and I guess he was like voted the best altar server in all of Florida or something like that, maybe the nation.
I think that I was on. Well, there'd be one from Franciscan from Steubenville, as well as I think that in the seminary I think that I was voted most likely to drop out. There at the lunch ladies. If you remember at the cafe at Steubenville, there was the older lunch ladies, and they had a running bet of all the pre-thieves who they thought were going to drop. And there was a list, apparently an official list, and I think that I was at the top of their list of most likely to drop. So, as well as in the seminary, I think that I was at the top of many people's list of most likely to drop. So, there's a fun fact.
So the last thing I guess we could talk about is, I don't know if it's a question, but I get to spend a lot of time with priests in my job, in what I do. And at first, I think maybe I looked at the priests like I looked at teachers when I was back in school in high school, even though I had teachers for parents. But, there's this kind of like perfection kind of a thing you're looking for or expecting out of them, holding them up on a pedestal. But what I want to say is now that I've spent time around you guys, no, so it's kind of interesting. It's great to get to know you guys on a personal level, and I hope that this interview does the same for people, and you're real people and real struggles, and you need prayers, and you get to pray for us, and you like things and that are not just like reading The Office or praying the rosary or hearing confessions. You have a life outside of that. And so it's good to know that you're real people and good guys, all the guys I think I've encountered. So thanks for being a priest. Thanks for doing this interview.
Thank you.
And thanks for tuning in to this episode of Catholic in America. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Every time you guys do that, other people are more likely to see our content. And if you like what you see and you want to see more of it, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/St. Dominic Media. And there's a couple tiers you could choose from, different levels of support. That's a great way for us to get a monthly donation coming in from you guys. So thanks again. God bless, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
Whatever the original intent for social media was, it probably wasn't this.
Well, I'm sure you've seen this viral video.
M to the B.
Gaming Week Day 3.
This egg is the most liked Instagram picture.
Hi. Impressive carrying skills, right?
Okay, so tell me all about this.
Yikes. See what I mean? However, at St. Dominic Media, we found a much better way to do social.
It is a joy, a pleasure to want to spend time with the Lord and with one another.
If you delight in the Lord, He would give you the desires of your heart. And so I prayed Him to send me to the right church. And so He led me to the one that He established, which is the Catholic Church.
So I'm sitting in my quiet space, my time with God, praying for my grandchildren.
Understand that the devil isn't only the enemy of our souls, he's the enemy of our human nature. And so what God has joined, He wants to rupture.
Judeo-Christian values.
You corrected it. Judeo-Christian values. Your brain corrected it. Oh, that's fantastic.
Every year, we produce hundreds of dynamic, faithful Catholic videos that reach millions of people, both online and on television. At St. Dominic Media, we're doing the heavy lifting of creating good quality Catholic content, and we'd love for you to partner with us, either by visiting stdominicmedia.com and following the share link, or by using the offertory envelopes offered by your parish from OSV. Help us sow seeds far and wide as we use new media's potential for good. Together, let us invest in and grow the kingdom.